Marketing is ever changing. Every single day there's a new update or something that we've got to tackle or overcome. So clients that understand that and have that mindset and say, yeah, I understand, I trust you, I trust the process, they're the perfect people that we obviously love to work with.
The very first episode of From Brief to Broadcast, the very new podcast from 8 Group. We're kicking off the very first one with Beex, or Rebecca, who is one of our digital team here at 8 Group. So what makes Beex tick?
Anyone that knows me well knows that I absolutely love food. I'm a foodie throughout. I sort of came into the business as business development to lead the digital department. Got 3 and a bit years of digital experience under my belt after being in recruitment for 8 years. So, but always in a sales role and offering a solution, whether that be staff or whether that be digital. But I've found my way in this world now, and obviously since joining 8 Group, that has evolved even more.
Hello and welcome to the very first episode of From Brief to Broadcast, the very new podcast from 8 Group. Look, the reason behind this podcast, I guess, is give the wider audience out there an understanding of us as a business, what we do, who does it, and who we do it for. And I think we're quite unique in our approach. So I think if we can try and get that across through a series of casual conversations with guests, I think there'll be some people out there that take something from it. So each month, either myself, I'm Tom, Strategic Solutions Director at 8 Group, or Lance, our CEO, will be having, like I say, a casual conversation with someone. We're kicking off the very first one with Beex, or Rebecca, who is one of our digital team here at 8 Group. And we're going to talk through, Beex, your background, who you are as a person, first and foremost, what gets you out of bed in the morning, your journey in your career, how you ended up at 8 Group, and then what we've done so far in quite a short time, but got quite a lot done, and where we're going as a team. And in particular, your experience of coming into essentially, and what most people know 8 Group has, which is our history is in print and offline marketing. So your experience of that and how you see that kind of panning out as we go forward in a multi-channel way. So let's start with you. What makes Beex tick? Tell us a bit about you.
So obviously I'm Rebecca, or Beex as those that close to me will call me. So I'm kind of like the digital lead here at 8 Group. I sort of came into the business as business development to lead the digital department, so to speak. And obviously my role has evolved since then. But my background is, well, I've got sort of three and a bit years of digital experience under my belt after being in recruitment for 8 years. So, but always in a sales role. So I've always been involved in getting to know a business overnight and offering a solution, whether that be staff or whether that be digital. But I've found my way in this world now. And obviously since joining 8 Group, that has evolved even more.
Yeah, so you outside of work. So we'll go on to work.
Yeah, cool.
Your career, and then we'll get on to 8 Group. But you as a person, tell the people, you put some LinkedIn posts out there. You've got a About You page on the site, but what makes you tick?
Who am I? Yeah, okay. What makes me tick? Food. I'm a dog. That is me. That is my whole personality. Anyone that knows me well knows that I absolutely love food. I'm a foodie throughout. I enjoy watching food being cooked. I enjoy eating food. I enjoy watching people eat my food. Anything food related.
Stay on the sofa with the dog and a nice meal that you've prepared, and you're a happy girl.
That's a dream, and a glass of wine. But yeah, drink Sauvignon Blanc. No. And then, yeah, I've got my dog, Pickle, and he was 2 last week, actually. So he brings me
him a birthday card?
I didn't get him a birthday card, but one of my friends got him a birthday card. So, yeah, that was a little bit.
Experience and listening to you, he's the most pampered pooch out there, isn't he?
He is, yeah. He has a birthday limit for his presents every birthday. Yeah, he got taken to the posh dog shop, so I could pick out some treats for him to sniff test and say yes or no. Basically, my whole personality is my dog and food, but I do like to get out and about, go walking and bits and bobs. And normal things normal people do, enjoy spending time with friends, going out, family. You know how it is.
Yeah, brilliant. And then career-wise then, so we'll touch on something you've mentioned there actually, in some of the customers or some of the sectors we seem to be seeing quite a lot of success in actually are things that you like to do outside of work. We've got a few food and food retail brands. Same again, we probably spend half of our time in our marketing office talking about food and what we ate last night and what we're cooking the next night. So, but again, I think in any career and job, what your passions are outside of work, if you can bring them into work, you're going to be very passionate about that, and it's going to breed success, isn't it? So yeah, we'll talk about that a bit later. But yeah, your career then. So you said 3 and a bit years in digital marketing.
Mm-hmm.
Talk us through before that. You mentioned a lot of it's been in sales, but yeah, give us a bit more detail there, and how you ended up at 8 Group. Let's go into that.
Yeah. So I've always been in sales right from my early 20s. I got into car sales and kind of learned the way of a sales process, and that's followed me through my whole career. Got into recruitment, did sort of a 360 role where I was dealing with candidates and clients and the recruitment process and interviewing and everything, but then sort of found my way in business development and have been in that kind of role probably for about maybe 10 years, 8 years. I'm showing my age now, even though I'm only early 30s. Feels like a long time.
That wasn't an early, you didn't set out, from leaving school to, wanting to be in sales or in a sales focused role. That kind of just evolved.
Yeah.
Experience of.
I don't think anyone wakes up and goes, I want to be a salesperson.
No, but I think, I mean, a lot of my background's been in sales as well. You're right, you don't say I want to be a salesperson, but I think a lot of people know from quite early on that they've got the ability to be a salesperson. You can teach some of it. I don't think you can teach all of it, but you didn't, it just kind of happened.
Yeah, just kind of fell into it just through sort of people I knew and kind of giving it a go and obviously loved it. So yeah, been in recruitment for 8+ years, and part of recruitment is really getting to know a business inside out overnight, because you've got to find people that fit their culture, fit the processes. Learning a business overnight really is like a bit of a USP of mine, I would say, and I've carried that through very well into marketing. You need to understand your customer and your customer's customer very, very well. So that has played, quite a big part in terms of who I am as a digital, whether you call me a strategist or a planner or, whatever that is, that I think that massively influenced how much I enjoy what I do now, because it's just in me and how I do things. Aside from the fact I'm also very organized and like strategy outside of work with all the spreadsheets I have that control all of my life. So, but yeah,
organized.
Yeah. So yeah, recruitment.
Actually, you just touched on that. A lot of salespeople or customer-facing people, myself included here, aren't great at attention to detail. I think you're quite good at pulling out of a customer their needs, their requirements, building that rapport, turning that into something actionable, a plan. Not great at putting the detail on the plan. I know myself, I kind of have to lean on other members of the team, and they do say, actually, play to your strengths and use others for your weaknesses. But yeah, that is quite unique, I'd say. And I've noticed that since you've been with us, that you do have both sides, which is great. Yeah, I have seen your spreadsheet as well of home life, which is way more organised than mine.
I try anyway. Sometimes fall off the wagon. So yeah, so came out of recruitment and then stepped into the world of digital marketing or marketing as a whole. But I always had a keen interest in marketing, from doing business development in school when I was doing my A-levels. We did a massive piece on marketing and I loved it. And I always kind of, in the back of my mind, always knew I wanted to get into the industry, but wasn't sure how. And then obviously sales and marketing go hand in hand. They're brother and sister. They influence each other and they guide and help each other. So I've always had an involvement in it, and I've always had a bit of a creative flair to go to a marketing department where I've worked and said, can you give me this? Can you do this for me? Can you help me do this? I've always ran personal campaigns. So then applying that into what I do now for customers, it felt very natural to move into this world. And here I am at 8 Group.
Yeah, and so touching on that then, 8 Group, obviously we met, how long ago was it now? The first
probably about 18 months ago.
Yeah, we had a few kind of chats, and then what drew you to wanting to work at 8 Group, and then we'll go into after that what we're doing at 8 Group and how that ties in. But I think it's really it'd be interesting to hear. You were in a digital background, weren't you?
Yeah, I was working for a small sort of boutique size agency in Leicester, and obviously we got chatting, and I think at the time you were talking to me about the vision of the group and what it stands for, and it's just something felt right about it. And I remember reaching out to you and saying, look, if there was ever anything coming up, I would love to be, have an opportunity to come and have a chat with you guys. And it just so happened that the time was right when it needed to be. Obviously we had a couple of chats, and then the rest is history. But I just really liked what they stood for, and the future sort of thinking forward for I don't know what I'm trying to say there, but what it's trying to achieve in the future, not just for today, basically.
Yeah, I think that probably segues us into 8 Group, and I think there'll be a lot of people watching this or listening to this that have heard of 8 Group. I think we're quite well known in our industry, but I think we're getting more well known in kind of wider marketing circles. But I think let's go dig quite deep into our offering, where we were, and I'll talk a bit about that now, and then where we're trying to get to, which is exactly what you've just touched on there. Well, it sounds like I sold it to you quite well, the vision of where we're trying to get to, but it is true, and that vision still stands. 18 months later, we're further down that journey, still a long way to go, but the vision is the same. So yeah, obviously we are a print and direct mail company, and that's the history of the business that Lance bought 5-6 years ago and is now CEO of. Is our background is offline marketing. My experience has always been in offline marketing and working at various size print companies, putting ink on paper and producing brochures and direct mail packs. But yeah, the vision that we kind of shared with you and that you're now part of was actually a lot of our industry sell on commodity. They'll have a different size press, or they'll have a different solution, and it's how much do you pay for your brochure, or how much do you pay for your direct mail packs, and that is evolving. That I'm not saying that is still the case throughout the industry. It's still a big part of the industry, and there are lots of great printers out there. I've worked for some of them. There's others that we know really well as a business and we work with and partner with. But a lot of the industry still sells a product. And I think the vision that we pitch to you and kind of my approach to selling marketing now is more strategic. So it's more, and I'm telling you this and you know this, but I'm trying to set the scene for the people listening, is that actually there's a customer journey, and our customers go on that journey, and that goes right the way through from awareness of a brand or a product to conversion. Then you're trying to get loyalty. You want that customer to stick around to buy your products every month or every quarter or whatever that frequency may be. And then being an advocate of the brand and a champion of the brand. So you want that customer to tell everyone else about it, and whatever that may be. It could be a meal delivery service, it could be a makeup company, whatever it is. You want people to not just buy regularly, but to tell everyone that it's the best brand or products out there. So that's the end goal for any customer that we deal with, any business that we deal with. And that then gets broken down into those stages of the customer journey. But crucially here, it's across all channels. And our experience, or my experience, is very much you're either an offline company, you're a printer, and they dabble in a bit of digital, or your background, they're a full digital agency. And one thing that really bugs me in the digital world, I've noticed, is the term multi-channel. There are awards at huge digital marketing events for multi-channel campaign, but the term multi-channel refers to SEO, PPC, social, and that's it, and that's classed as multi-channel. And I kind of sit there and think, no, multi-channel is every touch point with a customer, and that could be 5 or 6 touch points, and that could be everything from a billboard to a TV ad to digital marketing, a door drop, a direct mail piece. So yeah, the vision that we sold to you effectively was that, wasn't it? It was a customer journey, setting a strategy for that customer and for that marketing department, and then delivering it across all channels. Yeah. So talk us through your experience of that so far, and then how you feel that's going, where we're adding value on the digital side, which we definitely are. And then
Sure. Well, I think as we quickly realize, it all starts off with that sort of discovery session that we have with our clients. So I think a lot of people that have come from print side to then have a chat with us around digital, it's been a totally different sort of positioning to them, and it's kind of a little bit out of the ordinary for them. And I think that sets us apart, definitely, and which is why we've had so much success so far. But that discovery session is the most important thing, because we've really got to get under the skin of who the business are to be able to represent them, but also under the skin of who their customers are and how they behave and what platforms they're showing up on. If a business has got 3 different levels of customer personas, they're not all going to be acting in the same way. They might be really hot on Instagram, so they might want to see some user generated content or some influencer marketing on Instagram or some ads that are kind of all linked up together. But someone might not use Instagram, so they might need a door drop, or whatever that is. There's different elements that are going to drive that customer to take action, whether it's then to find out more information, start researching about the brand or the product or whatever they're buying, to then push them down that sales funnel, and being able to offer that to the clients that we work with and offer it and do it well. We're not a digital agency and a marketing agency and a print agency where there's no consistency, there's no collaboration. We are bringing all of that together and offering them the best solution. and allowing them to flex their budget and put their budget in the right place to get the right output. And all these little tests that we do throughout that customer journey helps to enhance where their budget's going and the return that they're getting for it, rather than saying, right, digital marketing's got, a £40,000 spend and, print's got an £80,000 spend, and they're both doing their own things. It's bringing it all together and saying, right, where is it actually working the best? Where is it not working? Where could we be wasting money, or where do we need to refine that journey? So it all strengthens. And at the end of the day, the customer doesn't care what channel it's on. They just need to be reached to make that decision, to make that purchase. And I think that's where we can really add value and be different in comparison to some of our competitors.
Yeah, and I think adding to that, it's all about results, isn't it, at the end of the day? What we're saying is we're going to pin our name to the strategy that we're going to set, but ultimately it's fluid. And I think even more so when you're doing multiple channels, print, you have to plan so far ahead. For a big print job, a big door drop, you're buying paper in advance, you're booking slots with the Royal Mail, for example. You've got to plan ahead and then kick it off and let it happen. Digital, and I've found this recently in some of the stuff we've worked on, is you can set a great plan, and if a competitor decides to outbid you, for example, on Google, then that plan's not going to work. So we've set a plan with the best intentions. Our job then is to react to that. And one thing I find quite interesting is you get a lot of companies that have offline marketing people and online marketing people. Their job is the same. They're trying to attract whatever the target is. The target could be new customers or repeat spend or increase order value. They're both doing the same thing with, like you've just said, an 80 grand print budget, a 40 grand digital budget. And then as the user, as the end user, I get emails in my Gmail account every morning, and I might get a completely different message via the offline, or a different offer via the offline channels. And you kind of think, crazy, just join it all up. And I'm not saying that people don't do this, but I think as you've got these different parts of the same marketing department, where I see unique value in what we do is we kind of sit above all of that. We kind of sit, I always use the analogy, we're sat in the corner of your marketing meeting and listening to what you're trying to achieve, what you're currently doing. And again, going back to the discovery session that you mentioned, we can just kind of put our hand up in the corner. There's my hand. We can put our hand up in the corner and say, look, everything you're saying is correct, but have you thought of this? Or have you thought of the timing of that direct mail piece landing? You're currently sending the email a week out from the direct mail piece. Why don't you send the email the day after the direct mail piece? People receive the direct mail piece, they see the offer, they see the brand, then they see the email amongst 50 other emails in their promotions folder of Gmail. They're more likely to click it, they're more likely to convert. So yeah, I think it's really interesting, and I think it's an ever-evolving journey for us as a business, but also for our customers. You don't set, what do we say? About every 3 months we're having a real sit down with a client and look at what we've put in place, how's it performed. And I think it's really key for us, we get that buy-in from the customer that we're going to aim for this, and these are the metrics we're going to try and hit. However, that may not be the case. We may smash that, or it might not work, and then we'll tweak it. Not because the plan's wrong, it's because things have changed through that journey.
And you've got to have clients in the right mindset as well to understand that. Unfortunately, you do get people out there that just see it as a budget, and they just see these vanity metrics that everybody shouts about. I've had X amount of impressions and so many views and so many likes, but not bought products. It doesn't matter. What we're talking about is real life figures and real life. Things can happen, things can change. We live in marketing is ever changing. Every single day there's a new update or something that we've got to tackle or overcome. So clients that understand that and have that mindset and say, yeah, I understand, I trust you, I trust the process, they're the perfect people that we obviously love to work with. The other people just need a little bit of education, and that's obviously what our job is to educate them as to why these things are important and why there needs to be flexibility and collaboration, and we need them to give us as much as we're giving them as well. It's a collaboration, and we've got to work together.
Absolutely. And one thing there, again, do you find, because I've definitely found this, that you get a bit of an attribution battle, even more so with offline and online? And again, when we were just a printer, to summarise, this was always a conversation. People were reluctant to commit to a substantial print project or a direct mail project because it's harder to get attribution. So as a marketing director, it's kind of like, look, why would I spend 120 grand on a massive direct mail campaign when it's a lot harder for me to get the attribution? Not that you can't get attribution, but more people can get the direct mail piece, then they type in your web address and they purchase. So you spend a lot of money on a direct mail campaign, and actually the attribution has gone through a Google ad, for example. So I find that a really interesting topic at the moment when we're talking offline and online. And again, they're completely different skill sets for us and our customer, which is why I think we are adding huge value. But the attribution one for me is a real talking point, because I think and again, let's not spend this whole podcast from this point onwards talking about AI, but I think it would be negligent of us not to discuss it. But with the rise of AI, and this is me and my behaviour, I will have a whole conversation with ChatGPT, and the outcome of that, might be, these are the best running shoes you should buy for what you've just told me that you plan to do. Then I'll go onto Google and I go to that brand's website, so I'm not clicking. So you get almost no click attribution. And alongside that, I may sign up to a mailing list. I may then get a brochure through the door, and I might get an email because I've started a conversation with ChatGPT. The outcome is I go onto the website, I buy the shoes, right? But I've not clicked anywhere, so there's no attribution.
Attribute it to the
And again, I think that plays into our approach. Is look, we're telling you that this is our suggestion on the best mixture of channels and best mixture of spend to hit whatever you're trying to hit, whether that's new customers or repeat custom, whatever it may be. But actually, years ago, the first thing people would look at is attribution and say, I've spent X. Have I got Y back in return? That's a lot harder to do now. And I'm not saying that you can't do it, but I think there's a trust element in who you partner with. And I think that is where we're seeing such rapid success in digital, is that because we're doing all the channels and they're trusting us with all the channels and we've got the skill set in all the channels, the results are there and you can see the results, whether it's, we started in month 3 and at month 6, your goal was more customers. You've got more customers.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting one. What are your thoughts on attribution?
I think obviously in agreement with you, and I can't give too much context more around it, but I think it just goes back to what I was saying about customers having to just trust the process and trust the journey. You will be able to see trends in what you're doing if it is set up and tracked right. So again, this is where people are using separate agencies. So they're using a print agency, they're using a marketing agency, and they're both running campaigns. The creative might be the same and they might, it might be the same message, but they've probably not set up tracking in the right way so that you can't, again, then see those trends, so the tracking that they put on a door drop or a triggered mail piece, for instance, they might not be tracking that right back to their website, or it might not be linked to their software that they're using. So I think attribution has to be an honest conversation to say, well, if it's set up and it's tracking correctly, then we'll be able to see much finer detail. But again, it's all about how good the relationship is between you and your customer, and whether they're going to give you the tools and support you with the tools that you need to be able to set everything up, and the budget as well, because these things take time.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a tough one, isn't it?
It is.
But you can see clear trends. Like, we've sent a door drop out on these 2 weeks, and you can see that traffic levels have increased or whatever. You can't directly say it's because of the door drop, but it's clear that it's done that. So yeah, it's just always going to be a tough conversation, I think, especially the more and more changes that we get with things like GA4 and stuff. So,
but that's why we have these regular conversations with customers, isn't it? It all comes down to data in and data out. So obviously everything we suggest, we back up with data. We'll profile your existing customers or customers you're trying to target, and then everything we do is based around that. And then obviously on the back end, we're looking at the data again. Did we attract the right kind of customers? Are they spending what we thought they'd spend? Are they not? In which case we tweak it again. So how big a deal do you think it is to not join up offline and online? Because you're from an online background. Most of my career was in offline. Started off, like I say, started off in account management, handling print jobs, moved into sales, selling print jobs. But I was very much, how much do you pay for this? And can we give you better quality and a better price? But it was all offline. You're very online, and we're on this journey together, and the rest of the team here at 8 Group. We clearly know the value of it, and that's why we're so passionate about it, and hopefully that comes across. But for a customer that may have either a big marketing department, but it's kind of offline and online are very disjointed, or again, something we're seeing quite a lot of is smaller marketing departments who tend to major online or offline as their favoured approach. How big a gap is there in what they could be achieving, do you think?
I think there's quite a big one. I think from digital perspective, you've got people in roles that have only been really created in the last 10 years or so, maybe. So they've gone through uni and they've learned digital marketing, they've learned social media, SEO, PPC, whatever it is. But they were probably taught a very small part about offline and print because, as people think it's a dying trade, but it certainly isn't, and it is going full circle right now. Obviously, we've seen so many trends this year of print being a bigger spend, which is great. And I think people are slowly starting to understand that, but I think that comes from education from people like us. So we're going into these digital teams that maybe a little bit more junior, that don't know the power of print. So we have to educate them in terms of looking at their customer journey and saying, right, well, here you could do a triggered postcard that goes out to people that have abandoned their basket online to drive them back to make an online purchase, and they go, oh wow, didn't realize you could do stuff like that. So it's educating that side, and then equally people that might be more print biased, again, it's selling in those digital platforms and showing them how it can benefit those. So I think there's a massive gap at the minute, but I hope people are really starting, and it's clear it is because of print doing a bit of a full circle this year with those sort of digitally led people. And I think that gap will close, but whether everyone sees the benefit in it, or people that might have been burnt with digital in the past or burnt with print in the past, whether they're likely to go down that path again or not, I don't know. But I think people are going to start spending more time on looking at that full customer journey, and again where they can personalize as well, because that's obviously a hot topic this year. So I think the next few years is going to look very different for how print and digital join up and meet together, and hopefully we're going to be pioneers in that.
Yeah, I think you touched on a couple of other great points there as well. Triggered mail, and I think that's a great thing to expand on. I think it's a really good entry point to people don't want to deviate from a marketing plan too much, because it's a bit of a case of, if it's not broke, don't try and fix it. So I guess as if you divert too much budget into other channels and it flops, that's on someone's head, right? So I think Triggered's a great one. It's not expensive, and it kind of links online and offline. If you can create automatically a printed piece via an online action, that's a really nice entry into true multi-channel.
Yeah.
And it's really easy to get attribution then, isn't it? Because you can say this is the QR code or the offer code people only get if they got that triggered postcard. And that's something we do a lot of here, is work on not just that output, but also that tech link with various partners that we can set it up quite quickly. I think that's an really interesting point, actually. And the other one you mentioned is personalisation. I think we know personalisation, there's various stats out there. I haven't got them to hand right now, but it drives such a huge increase in response rate. We're all time poor, and we're all guilty of it, aren't we? If you get anything with your name on, or an offer personalised to you, or a complimentary product to something you've already purchased, you're so much more likely when you're time poor to give it the time it deserves.
Yeah. Sometimes I do notice when those get it wrong as well, but I don't know whether that's just because I'm in marketing.
No, I think you're spot on. I think people try and over-personalise, or they don't, or they're lazy with personalisation. Yeah. And you see so many where halfway through the copy, it will have something generic that they clearly haven't made personalised when they should have done. But when you get it right, and even combining those two that we're talking about right now, triggered and personalised, I always think birthdays is a great one. It's a touch point that can have a real uplift if you get it right. And I don't know about you, when it's a week before my birthday, I'll probably get 50 emails from various restaurants and bars offering me a free drink if I go for a meal. What do? I probably flick through them, and if I might see one that stands out. No one sends a personalised birthday card with an offer. And going back to your dog, he's your baby. It's just been his birthday. If you've got something from his pet food company, for example, happy birthday, pickle.
Yeah.
Here's a treat on us. Absolutely you'd go and buy him.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So it does really, really work. And again, people probably don't even know what's possible. And again, that comes back to us being there to kind of advise and educate. But it's a really good entry-level touch point. It's not a huge cost. It's always on. It doesn't take up resource. You haven't got people having to book in print jobs or whatever it may be. You set it up, you let it run, and you can track the results. No, I think that's great. I think we've covered a lot for our very first podcast. I think we've set the world to rights on true multi-channel marketing and hopefully told people a bit more about Beex. If you were someone listening to this then, in a marketing role or at a company or a brand, and any of this resonates in terms of, do you know what, we are doing both, they are disjointed, or we're not doing offline, or just I want some more direction and some more strategy, what do they do next? What's the next step?
Well, obviously get in touch with us, and I think the first point of contact is where we take what we do at Discovery Session, but we kind of reduce that down, because the Discovery Session is a whole immersive sort of few hour meeting, whereas we can go and have an initial chat with them and do a bit of a customer journey analysis, a bit of a review of what they're doing, what channels it's touching, what results they're getting off the back of that. Obviously, we've got skill sets internally where we can do reviews of platforms or artwork or print, whatever they're doing, do a little bit of a review of that. And then that's when we can start talking a little bit more about that strategic approach and where we think we can support them and offer best advice on sort of how to move forward with their strategy. And hopefully that's at the point when you want to start working with us across all the channels.
Brilliant. No, thank you, Bex, for your time. Brilliant to chat. And I think, like I say, we've covered a lot.
Yeah.
And hopefully someone listening found part of it of interest. And if they did, then we've done our job. If you are listening and you want to find out more, get in touch with anyone at 8 Group. You can find our LinkedIn profiles or go to the website, and we'd be more than happy to have a coffee or a chat and just an initial conversation. Yeah. And if you like the podcast, give it a follow or a subscribe, and look out for next month's, which will be Lance. And I'm not sure who he's interviewing, but let's see. It's going to be a real mix of staff here at 8 Group, customers, partners, to try and give everyone a real rounded feel for what we do here and how we do it. So thank you for listening. Thanks, Bex.
Thank you.